Hello, how's it going? So this is part 2 of the tutorial on OpenAI's integration tool. So if you watched part 1, you surely have noticed the intense flickering issue when the emulator is running. It's quite annoying. So today I decided to give a shot at fixing it, and I found a fix for it. Just a bit of background, this is a bug I reported 2 years ago, and it was only happening on with NVIDIA's drivers. With Intel GPUs, AMD GPUs, there was no problem, and also with Nouveau drivers, there was no flickering as well. So I didn't bother fixing it really. Every time I wanted to use a tool, I just used my laptop basically. But today I was tired of that. I decided to fix it. So the fix is pretty simple. In the main CCP file, line 28, and set swap behavior, you have to set the format to surface format to double buffer instead of single buffer. So this seems like a very obvious fix, and why it was single buffer before, I have no idea. But maybe they will answer in the GitHub issues, because I posted an update today. But I doubt they have time for that. But anyway, the important thing is that it works. And I submitted this fix in my stable retro branch because, as you know, OpenAI retro doesn't accept any new PRs. So if you want fixes, you have to do your own fork or use other people's forks with their fixes. So that's it. So let's get started. As you can see, no flickering. So that's pretty awesome. It's going to be a much smoother experience. So let's start with our first game, Super Hang On for Genesis. This is a port of the arcade game of the same name. So I won't go through all the deals like I did for last video. I'll go a bit faster. But if you have questions, you can ask in the comment section down below. So first step, as you recall, is to use the integrate function in the game menu. And we're going to integrate Super Hang On. And don't forget, you need to rename the extension to .md for Mega Drive if you want this to work. Next step is to set the folder name. So Super Hang On. This is going to be also your environment name that you can pass to Retro API. So Super Hang On Genesis. And it should appear in your contrib folder. So as I said in the previous video, I recommend you copy this into your data folder. So if you're working with a stable retro, my fork, just copy this to the data folder. Copy your game to the data folder. I will submit this to stable retro. Super Hang On. Okay, so next step is to save the state. So new game, arcade mode. It's going to be beginner or junior, 10 stages. So let's start with beginner. Okay, so as soon as it starts, you need to save it. Gonna name it beginner. Now this is the state that where your AI is gonna start training. So this is, as you recall, this is to avoid the AI starting in the menu, having to learn the menu. Okay, so next step is to find the useful variables in RAM. So the most obvious one is score, and that's going to be used for our reward function. So we're going to name this variable score, obviously. And we can guess that it starts with 0 for sure. So it's going to search in RAM all values that are all places that are 0. So now that the score increased, we can guess that we can narrow down the list by searching all values in RAM that have increased. And somewhere in this list you should have the score. I'm going to reset. So we're going to search every value that is 9,320. Sometimes it's a bit tricky because it depends how the game stores the score. Sometimes it applies a multiplier of 10. So in RAM would be 932. Sometimes it uses some funky format. I'm going to try that. Okay, so it seems to be the right one. And we're going to test it a little just to make sure that it's consistent. So one thing we can do we can put a 1 million artificial value. 1 million. See what happens. Okay, so if both display are okay, seems to be good. If we add another 0 just for fun. Okay, seems to be the right address. Because sometimes it seems to work for the lower values, but as soon as you add one digit, you see that your address is off or your format is off, that the type here is off. But in our case, it seems to be okay. So we're going to save that. We need to find other variables, but we're going to save this to make sure we don't lose it in place. Even though there's an autosave, I want to make sure. So next step is to find the time. So the score is probably enough for our first reward function. After that, maybe you want to use the speed or more fancy reward functions, but the score is the score is enough to get started. Next is time. So I'm not sure if the time is enough to be a condition to end the session, because we need to find a way to tell Gym Retro when the session ends, and obviously when time is 0, the session should end. But some games put the time artificially to 0 at the end of stage, even though you clear the stage correctly, and you're gonna pass to the next stage. They put the time to 0 because they calculate a score with it, with the remaining time. So I don't know if Super Hang-On does that. So we need to test it first. So next important variable is time, because we need this for end of session function. So we need a way to know when the session ends. And in this game, I don't know yet if it's the best way is time or the speed. Because some games, at the end of stage, even if you clear the stage successfully and you pass to the next stage, they reduce the time to 0 to calculate your score. So time of 0 doesn't mean you fail the stage. So we're gonna have to test that. But first, let's try to find a value. And name the variable time. So I'm going to search in RAM every places that is 50. So we had 13,000, over 13,000 places. Okay, so what we can do is search for 47. Or we can find all values that are have decreased. So seems to be only one spot that is 47. So it found the address. Now next step is to find to make sure that this works. So if we put this address to, let's say the value at this address to 6, see it's consistent, but if we get to 0, what happens? Game over. Okay, seems to work a little, but we have to test it some more, and we have to test what happens at the end of the stage. And one issue you can notice is like it's a decimal 4, so 4 decimals, there's only 2 decimal needed. So that indicates maybe a problem. Okay, well, you see there's a problem. So times 39, but here the values are out of bounds. If we reduce this to 2 and we increase the value of the address here, no. Okay. So let's test this. So it's a bit of a trial and error process, as you can see. You have to guess which format, and also how does it store, like some games put some padding, depends. Oh, the finish line. Oh, cool. So now it works, like still it's consistent, and doesn't bring the time back to down to 0. So I guess that's the right value, and it should be used. Could be used for as an end session condition. End condition. So what we can do is edit our scenario file, and the score is also consistent, still consistent. For the speed, for now we don't need it, so I won't include it, but it might be useful if you want to tweak your reward function, as I said previously. So first is going to add reward. So every time the score increases, we give a reward. And the next time, add end condition. So if time is equal to 0, so no delta, just equal to 0, then the session ends. So we save our scenario file. Should be okay. So it's quite simple, but it's a good way to start, and it's better to start with simple stuff, simple reward function, and see how it goes. And after, only improve it if you see stuck, or you feel it needs you need to find another way. So probably gonna figure out that it needs to be at top speed to earn more rewards, because otherwise you won't reach the finish line. We'll see about that. The problem is that if we award for increasing the speed when doing the turns, if it needs to reduce the speed, then that might create problems. But we can see that later. So next step, we're going to put in a big bookmark. So next step is to we need to create our metadata.json. Just copy it from another game. It's easier. I'm gonna edit. Don't have multiplayer, so default state is enough, and it's beginner. The default state will be called beginner. Okay, so that's it, and you can check the previous tutorial on how to run to train a model. So with this here, you're ready to train a model. I will submit this to Stable Retro after I finish this video. Okay, so next game is Tetris. So for GameBoy games, you need to have the extension GB. And we're going to name it Tetris. Just to make sure other GameBoy games are... They name it GB or Game Boy. Okay, that's good. So Tetris, Game Boy. Level 0. Whoa. Too quick. So first step, obviously, is create the state. So state. So we'll try it. Now there's the score we need to find, obviously, but also the end condition. Okay, so score. Is 0, so all values in RAM, that is 0. 10, all values in RAM that are. Okay, so we don't, oh. So probably it stores with a multiplier, so score is 1. Let's see about that. Okay, no, that was wrong. Restart. It is 0. It is 21. It is 29. And they're all 29. So we need to increase the score a bit more to distinguish which one is the right one. Okay, so 139. I did a problem. I didn't play well. $157. No, 1,357. Okay. Okay, this is gonna take a while, I feel. So my guess, let's start with this one, make variable, and we can change the value 10,000, see what happens. Score of 10. Okay, that was the wrong one. If we search, all values are 10. Okay, I'm gonna put oh, it seems to work. Now it should be back to 0. What's this? A rocket launching. First time I see this actually. Okay, that's the right one. So, won't play correctly. Okay, cool. So we're gonna save that. Just to make sure we don't lose the hard work. Hey. So to find the variable for the end condition, I did a bit of work offline because otherwise this video would have been too long. There's no obvious change in variables except for the next piece. So if we end the game as fast as we can, you see the next piece becomes empty. So that gives us a clue of what to search for. And by searching for the next piece value in RAM, I found this variable. So if you see the values, it seems to be some sort of timer, and mixed with something else. So it's obviously wrong, but the thing is, when the session ends, the value becomes 0. So it seems to be good enough, actually. Obviously, to make it cleaner, we need to find the right value. But for now, to make this video shorter, I think it's good enough. And I tested quite a bit, and it seems to be okay. So we're going to start with this, but later I'm going to try to improve find what's the real value of the next piece here. Also, I know there's an internal timer because the speed is increasing as you improve level. So we can find that as well. So now let's edit the scenario. So first, gonna add reward for score, obviously, and we're gonna add the end condition. Gonna add the end condition for the game, and with the next variable. It's really hacky, but it works. So no delta is equal to 0. And I'm going to save scenario. Replace. Okay. So next step is that we're going to copy the metadata. I need the state name. I don't want to type this. Okay, so I'm gonna submit this to Stable Retro. Now, next game. Virtua Fighter 2 for Genesis. Virtua Fighter 32X is in 3D, but it doesn't work with this emulator because the emulator used by Jim Retro actually supports Game Gear, Sega CD, and Genesis, but unfortunately not 32X add-on. So I don't know why, but anyway, we in order to support Virtua Fighter 32X, we're going to need to add a new emulator. I plan to do this probably early next year if I have time. But for now, we can use the 2D version for Sega Genesis. So that's the right name. Oh, it crashed. Segmentation fault. At least it created the folder. Arcade mode. Whoa. Save state. So arcade. And what's the player? Just call it arcade for now. Akira versus Low. Note state. Okay. So now for the health bars. We don't know what value the programmer used for the full health bar. Like in the wrestling game was 164, I think. Some kind of weird value. Sometimes it's 100. So offline, I already found the enemy health in order to save time, make this video a bit shorter. So I was searching for the main player's health. But since the enemy health starts with 112, we can assume that the player's health also starts with 112. Come on, punch me. Okay, time is going to be up. So all values that decreased. So it's probably this one. just make sure we're going to try it again. Okay, let's assume it's this one. Put it to 0. Why doesn't it be removed? That's strange. Seems to have the value somewhere else, also in RAM. Should be okay. Okay, oh, okay, 0. Seems to be fine. Obviously, we need more testing to make sure, but make this video shorter. I'm gonna go ahead and find the round variable. So it says round 1, but I guess in the RAM is 0. So search. Gonna beat the crap out of this guy. Ring out. Okay, winner. Round 2. I'm gonna reset. Okay, so we found the round variable. So if round increases, that's the end condition. If, because we want to restart with this guy. If health goes to 0, that's the end condition, or enemy health goes to 0. And the other one is time. So for time, reset. Search for 3000. $28,000. 28 seconds. 31. Okay, so that's not how it's stored. You need to find another way and change. Decreased. guess we just need seconds anyway, so reset. So that means an increase. Wait. Okay, probably I did a mistake somewhere. Gonna reset. Search for 30 instead. Search for 25. All right. Oh, round -1. That's not good. The type is not good. Okay, so the time seems to be okay. Gonna let the time slide, just make sure it goes to 0. I punched him one punch too far. Okay, 0. Actually, we don't need the round. I'm thinking about it. So we can just save the variables. .json and edit scenario. So first we're gonna add every time the player loses health, gonna give a penalty, and when it's the enemy health, we're gonna give a reverse penalty, because when the value decreases, we want to it's gonna be a negative of this negative number, so it's gonna be positive reward. And for time, at end condition, so if time is equal to 0, it ends. If enemy health is equal to 0, it's over, and if health is equal to 0, it's over. So that should be okay. I'm gonna save this scenario .json. Okay. And now, like for the other guys, other games, we're gonna copy this. And for the PvP, I'm gonna do this another time. But if you watch my previous videos, it should be obvious how to do that. You just start a player versus player game, save the state, and after save a state with the player 2 enemy, the player 2. So save a state with Akira versus Low, and then save a state with Low versus Akira. That should be enough. And then edit this to add the default for a 2-player. So that's it. We integrated 3 games. So I hope it's a bit more clear how to integrate a game and find values. If you have questions, please let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.